one or two little news things this week. And the one news article that caught my attention was singing Jews cause near riot on the Temple Mount.
I saw that too, but I didn't read it.
What did it say?
Singing Jews.
Huh?
Would you say singing?
Singing Jews caused near riot on the Temple Mount. It was Hanukkah, so they went up there to. So it just said Israeli Jews on Sunday were again denied freedom of religion at Jerusalem's Temple Mount. See, if they only knew, who would care? Of all places, when a near riot by Muslim worshippers resulted in police closing the holy site to all but the followers of Allah. A Muslim mob became enraged when a small group of visiting Jews began singing songs commemorating the holiday of Hanukkah, an extra-biblical festival very much centered on the Temple Mount. Well, I don't know where they get that from. Well, yes, I do. They think the temple was up there, and it was desecrated, and the Maccabees came in and cleansed the temple, and you know that's how Hanukkah started. They found the oil that was the kosher oil that lasted. It should have lasted one day, but it lasted 8 days. So I guess that's where they centered on the Temple Mount. And it, in a video, they had the video online. The irate Muslims can be seen violently confronting the Jewish group's police escort. The Jews had to take a police escort up there. Even as at least one man sings holiday songs in Hebrew. I thought that was hilarious. So, when I went up on the Temple Mount one time, this little Arab guy come over and he said, they want to give you a guided tour of the Temple Mount and tell you point out the buildings. So it was so hilarious because he kept saying, you are on Muslim holy ground. You are on Muslim holy ground. And then he explained when this building here was built, you know, in 16 something or other. And then he said, holy ground, Muslim holy ground. Constantly, all through the thing. And we kept saying, we don't want you to guide us. Go away. We don't want you to guide us. He says, oh, it's $65. $65, I guide you. I tell you all our history, you know. So just to get him off our backs, there was probably 10 of us in the group up there. We figured, all right, let's all pitch in and give him his $65, right? So we're walking around. It was a beautiful morning. We're walking around the Temple Mount, and he's pointing out these things and saying the Muslim holy ground and all that. And I was standing there, and I got some gum out of my pocket. I went like this to the, you know, everybody take a piece of gum, and he took the whole pack, put it in his pocket, and then, you know, and he said, thank you.
Presumptuous.
You know, that's what they do, you know. So we got all done, and we come back around, and the leader of our group, it was our army group, he got the money out. He said, I'll just pay him, y'all pay me when we go to eat. And he got out, and he's counting out $65, American money. He says, oh, no, 165. He says, you're taking the 65 or else. But that's what they do. And I'm thinking, and they think they're on holy ground.
Yeah, once you sold
Holy
once you
ground.
sold the American money, it doubled.
Holy
But-
How can you be on holy ground and be swindling?
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
that's what I'm saying.
I guess it's okay to swindle
But-
an infidel.
But the Orthodox Jews stand there, and when a visitor comes up, and they can tell because you have to get a paper yarmulke, and the men. And if you walk up there, they try to, you know, for money, they'll give you a prayer shawl to wear, or a real yarmulke to put on, or whatever. And they're making money. And the little old lady that stands she's there every year, she stands at the women's section before you enter with scarves, and she'll say to you, she's Jewish, she'll say, are you married? Yeah, you have to have your head covered, you know. So, and then she goes like this, and then when you come out, she grabs the scarf back from you. And other ones in the Kabbalah, that sell the red threads, they stand back and they're, you know, trying to give you a red string, and then they go, you know. So they're all down there making money, right? What they think is the Western Wall. So, and then you go up on the Temple Mount, and they're making money because they're swindling you out.
Yeah.
Well,
Even taking your
Fleecing
phone.
you.
The next time you go,
You
and
would
they-
think.
the next time you go and they do that, I think they say, did you know this is not the Western?
Well, since those
I
boys
was telling
found,
Harold
since,
about it, because
since
Harold
those
didn't.
boys found the water thing, you know, the spring, and, don't they investigate that now and
They're
see
not
that?
interested. They don't care. The tradition says it was up there. They don't question it.
Well, you're sending that information to Gerson
I'm
Sullivan,
going
right?
to, yes.
Temple Mount Faithful.
But I don't know. I did get a reply back from him once when I wrote to him about something else, so maybe he'll write back. But I think, it's just like we were talking before you all come in with Joe, and we were talking about tradition and things like that, and why Mindy and I can get up here and this is our opinion, this is what I studied, and this is just, it's, I think it's right, but you may not think it's right. If you want to investigate it, be my guest, you know, if you find something that's a discrepancy, bring it to my attention, because that's how I learn, and, you know, stuff like that. But the big names, like all of them, Hal Lindsey, Grant Jeffrey, Hagee, all of them, they have a doctrine that they've been preaching for years and years, and they're not going to change it. They're not going to change it. They can't. I mean, how can
They
they?
have the
Make
whole
them look
business
foolish.
It's their
invested in the
ministry.
They'd have to grab the books off the shelves and everything if they changed something that was
True.
published, you know?
Yeah.
And then their publishers would get angry if the publishers would say, no, we have to
Well,
sell
they
the
destroy
book and you
their-
have a contract and,
I hate to say it, but business.
yeah.
Not that they're in it just for that.
Yeah, but
Well,
I'm
that's
not
what it's
judging their
become.
heart.
Right.
I'm just
But what
saying.
Hagee's saying is exactly what you're saying about the
Well,
blood
to
moons
a
and
certain
stuff.
point,
Yeah.
You know, I mean, out to a certain degree, but.
Yeah, we were talking too about, well, I won't get into all that, but years ago, Hagee and Jerry Falwell had talked about a dual, what they call the dual covenant, that the Jews are saved because they believe in the one true living God. Period. Don't matter if they accept Jesus or not, they believe in the one true living God. And that's a real
Well, that-
big debate. I mean, because it's like, I mean, if you got into it, it would be a big debate, but maybe we'll talk about that one day.
Well, I saw on the History Channel, and there was a stone that came from Israel and went somewhere, and then it wound up in the United States, and it's in Oklahoma. And it was a cutout part, and they had some man come and check it and chip the piece off of it and put it under a microscope somehow, and it said this actually did come from the Middle East somewhere. And I think it was a stone that came with the Ark of the Covenant, wherever that is. So,
It's kind of weird.
yeah. Somebody will make some money off of that.
so I don't know, that was on the History Channel.
There's a real rich church somewhere out there in California. A guy told us this. When we were in Jerusalem and going to different places, in Jerusalem, what makes it different is everything has to be covered with Jerusalem stone. And what they do is they quarry the stone and they grind it up and they mix it with some kind of composite, and then they form stones out of it, or rock, you know. So if you go along the highway, there's walls, you know, like we have walls, but it's faced in Jerusalem stone. And every building in Jerusalem has to be faced with a stone. So you know the unique effect that that's going to give the whole entire city, if they've got to face everything with Jerusalem stones. Well, this one church group, hi Jim, this one church group that came on a tour to Israel, he said it was the pastor and practically his entire congregation. It was a very wealthy church out there. They decided they were building a new sanctuary. They're going to face it in Jerusalem stone, and he says they actually bought and shipped tons and tons of these stones over to this church. I'd love to see it, but I can't locate it. I couldn't figure out.
Where's it
where
at,
was.
California?
Yeah. So, did anybody ever get on that Sinister site and look up the Supreme Court building yet?
No.
I keep forgetting.
We should do
What
that.
is it, sinister.com?
Maybe we could do that on there.
Yeah, yeah, we'll do a slide presentation of it.
Yeah, because it'll,
Is that the one that's the mine? One hub?
well, it's new age.
And the Colorado, Denver airport.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a creepy one
We'll have
there.
to do that.
Yeah, we'll show pictures of
Supposed to be
that.
a city under the airport there somewhere.
Yeah, yep,
Yeah, it's a whole
Yep.
underground.
Underground
City.
thing for,
yep.
For the big wigs.
yeah, for the big boys. If we ever have a
Nuclear.
Yeah,
nuclear fallout thing. Yeah.
I know.
Well, the White House is like a fortress underneath.
Well, around back of the White House, there has, for the last 3 years, there's been something going on that no one knows about. But it's been a lot of excavation and stuff, and all the contractors are supposedly, it's like Oak Ridge when they were developing the bomb. Nobody knows exactly what's going on, they're just doing their part of the job.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing there. Probably
Well, when
some
FDR was president,
10-story underground.
Truman didn't know about the atomic bomb until he became president. Then he found out about it.
Yeah,
The own vice president didn't know,
yeah.
but he used it.
So, the next little news bit that I have is, the world powers seem to have accepted the Iranian regime's claims to have a right to enrich uranium despite its many public vows to wipe out nearby UN member state Israel, while also threatening Saudi Arabia and other regional Arab Sunni Muslim states that were also unhappy with the nuclear agreement. Ayatollah Khomeini proclaimed once again that the Zionist regime is doomed to failure and annihilation. This is after the agreement. After the agreement. Reports out of London during November, because you're not going to get the news here, it has to come out of London. During November, spoke of this blew me away, spoke of a secret agreement between Israel and Saudi Arabia to carry out a military strike on Iran's nuclear targets, including a large underground bunker southwest of Tehran. Israel is now working with the Saudis, because the Saudis are scared to death of the Iranians. The Saudi royal family has given Israel permission to fly through its airspace en route to strike on Iran's widely scattered nuclear facilities, if it comes to that. So remember what I said, it might not ever come to that. This might just be one of those rumors of wars. They're not going to really hit Iran, or if they do, it'll be so limited, it's not going to destroy them. They can't, because why? Iran has to play the part in Ezekiel 38. So, but anyway, it's still a threat right now. However, this was said to exclude attack warplanes. Ha ha ha. How are they going to go in there and bomb Iran without a warplane? You know, it's like talking out both sides of their mouth. Meanwhile, back in Syria, Assad's regime made substantial progress against the mostly Sunni Muslim rebel forces during November. Assad is gaining ground again. He regained control over a key city north of Damascus and in other locations. The Syrian army was once again greatly aided in its military advances by Iranian armed Hezbollah militia forces from neighboring Lebanon. A 19-year-old Israeli soldier, he was a brand new recruit, he had only been in the army 2 weeks, was murdered as he slept on a public bus in the northern city of Afula. Harold and I go to Afula all the time. It's, where is it? I can't find it. I should have looked up on the map first. But anyhow, it's right up around there, north of Tiberias. Or might be right south of the lake. But anyway, Afula, it's a nice little city. It's not a big city or anything. It's more like Hanover. And there's nothing really there. There's several kibbutzes and all up there. But these soldiers don't have cars and all. When they have to report to their post, well, I don't know where he was going, but take a public bus. And he fell asleep. And he was murdered. It was reported that John Kerry's jarring statement, which was, if current U.S.-sponsored peace negotiations fail, another violent Palestinian uprising could quickly follow. John Kerry made that statement. And in response to that, they think that this just instigated this guy to kill this Israeli soldier. It seemed to be signaling the Palestinians that a return to the often trod path of violence and bloodshed will at least be understood by the Obama government. So the Obama transparency, now this is the one that, it didn't surprise me, but it surprised me. At a meeting before the Iranian deal, John Kerry shared some of the details with Bibi Netanyahu of what the agreement would probably look like. He later revealed to him that clandestine diplomatic talks had been taking place in Oman, which is along the eastern border of Saudi Arabia, between the Obama administration and the Iranians, since soon after Kerry took over from Hillary Clinton as Secretary of the State last January. So Obama sent Kerry, when Hillary was done, Obama sent Kerry then to start talking to the Iranians a year ago, almost a year ago. Secret clandestine meetings. Therefore, most of the details of the final deal had already been quietly arrived at between Washington and Tehran. It just, you don't know what this guy is doing.
So what kind of favors do we give
He's a
Iran?
Muslim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Took away the sanctions,
I don't care.
Huh?
took away the sanctions.
Yeah.
The secret negotiations were the first time that diplomats from the two countries had sat down together since the Iranian Revolution and subsequent American hostage crisis occurred in 1979. And it was Obama that did it. So as more and more details of the agreement emerged, Netanyahu stated, and we said this last week, but this is another way he said it, it becomes clear how bad and dangerous the agreement is to the world, the region, and Israel. And also Foreign Minister Lieberman said, he stated that Israel now finds itself, quote, in a new reality that is different from yesterday, and it requires us to reevaluate the situation with good judgment, responsibly and with determination. We will do what we must, and will not hesitate for 1 minute, and there is no need to add another word. So, and on that note, last week I read you Jerry's, my friend in Israel, Jerry's letter, and then afterward I made a couple of statements about the converging of the blood moons and Kerry's 9 months and now Obama's Iranian 6-month deal, and they're all coming together about the same time. Well, coincidentally, and this was on the 27th, it was after last week's meeting, I got another newsletter from him. And this is what he wrote, and it was almost what I said. So it's real short, but it says, he titled it, "The Time Frame to Consider." When I saw that, it caught my eye, because it was like, oh, I'm all into time frames, you know. But then he says, I am not setting any dates. 3 months, it's what he wrote. 3 months ago, Kerry gave the Israeli and Palestinian peace talks 9 months to be finished, one way or the other. Today we hear that Obama has given Iran 6 months to comply with his conditions. I find it interesting that both of the dates above come due at the same time, around April or May 2014. Then it occurred to me, this is the same time of the blood red moons and the solar eclipses we're hearing about. Just like the ones that occurred in the past, and each time something big, really big, happened in Israel. The first of these 4 blood red moons is to occur on Passover 2014 and through October Sukkot, Feast of Tabernacles, 2015. Yeshua told us that there would be signs in the sky at the end times, that the sun would be darkened and the moon would turn blood red. Acts 2:19-21 says, "And I will show wonders in heavens above, and signs in the earth beneath, blood and fire and vapor of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood, before that great and notable day of the Lord come. And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be saved." It could well be that the above is simply a coincidence, but I have learned after 40 years of walking with God that there are no coincidences when it comes to the Lord and His Word. I doubt that there is anyone reading this who doesn't believe something big is about to happen in this world that directly has to do with God's prophetic word. Over the years, I have met and been friends with some of the greatest Bible teachers of our time, and I still haven't met any man or woman who has 100% complete understanding of God's prophecies. It seems He gives us parts and pieces as we struggle to know His perfect will for our lives. You see, we are all just parts of the body of Yeshua, and not any one of us knows it all. In fact, few know as much as they think they do. Okay, maybe I didn't have to say that, but I did anyway. For example, God has given me an understanding of what He has called me to do. At least I know as much about it as He would allow me to know at this time. As we travel in obedience to please God, doors of new understanding open to us. We are justified by faith, and we mature by faith. And then we learn that it's God who gives us the gift of faith, and that is supernatural, moving us forward with God in confidence of His will for our lives. It is then that we hopefully become usable vessels for His purposes, not ours. Many are stopped along the way by self-righteousness, spiritual pride, in religion and in self-improvement courses. But somehow God has His way and His will gets done with or without our help. I guess what I'm saying is, don't allow yourself to get in God's way, believing yourself to be doing Him a favor. He uses us in spite of ourselves, not because of ourselves. He says, "Forgive me, I didn't mean to go off preaching like that. But you see, as for the dates mentioned above, I get a witness that something really big is going to happen. We know that in the U.S., Obama is bringing down the Constitution and doing all he can to destroy your liberties and freedoms. He's purging the military of its best generals and demoralizing it with homosexuality, and doing much the same to the general public as well. God told us it would be like this in the end, so it should come as no surprise to any of us. For as we look around, we can see that the world we grew up in no longer exists. The devil has a full-blown revival underway, and the attack on Christianity is in full force worldwide. In Egypt, Syria, and throughout Africa, Christians are being murdered by the thousands, with hardly a whisper from the rest of the world. Here in Israel, we hear daily about the 6 months now given Iran, without them giving up their ability to have a nuclear bomb. Contrary to what Obama and Kerry say, Iran says they have not given up that right, and they continue to say they will wipe Israel off the map. So it seems, given the timetable above, we have 6 months. But I wouldn't depend on that either, for with Obama, everything is deception and distraction, divide and conquer. He is a liar, evil, and a Muslim who does anything he can to assist Islamic terrorists around the world. I have rambled on, and the thought has come to me not to send this out, but I know where that thought comes from. My prayer is that you may understand the importance of the time you now find yourself living in. Submit yourself to God, accepting Yeshua fully into your heart, and allow Him to be the Messiah of your life. I also pray that you understand the importance of God to this ministry that He has made you part of. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem, our son Joel, and all the IDF soldiers. Shalom, Jerry. So he's looking at it the same way we are.
I know.
And he's in Israel. He's a believer, but he's Jewish, so he knows how the Jews think and what they're up against. So it's the deception, that agreement and everything that Obama started a year ago, So we don't have any control anymore. We just turn it over to